Naman notes, naman notes, naman notes, naman notes, naman notes. Hello, everyone. Today, my message is titled Losing Our Sense of Humanity. Recently, on the news, we have seen some very disturbing events in our world today. First of all, I'm sure we've all witnessed on TV the video that showed the individual George Floyd uh, being killed by a policeman. My reaction to this was that this can only be done by someone who has lost their sense of humanity. Only when we lose our sense of humanity could a person do something like choke a person to death. And then following that, over the weekend, we saw many peaceful protests and demonstrations about this incident. But we also saw many disturbing videos of riots, of vandalism, of looting and arson, even in many of our cities throughout our nation. I too thought this was another example of losing our sense of humanity. If you have a sense of humanity, how could you do those things to another person's property? Those businesses are run by other human beings like you and I trying to make a living. So I saw it as another example of losing our sense of humanity. In Buddhism, you might be familiar with the teaching of the six realms of existence, or it's called Rokudo in Japanese. The six realms of existence are a heavenly realm, and then a human realm, then an animal realm, and then a fighting demon realm, a hungry ghost realm, and a hellish realm. In ancient India, people believed in these realms literally as realms of an afterlife. If you didn't live your life as a good human being, in your next life you would fall into a lower realm. But if you lived a good life and had good karma, in your next life you might move up to a higher realm. Well, many Buddhists even today still believe in this literally, but there is another way to interpret this teaching as I have been taught. And that is that Shakyamuni Buddha reinterpreted this worldview of ancient India. And instead of looking at the realms as outside of himself, he saw the realms within himself, showing him his own mind, his own heart, his own psychological state of being. And if we interpret those six realms of existence in that manner, then any of us could touch even on all of the realms in the course of one day, or even in 1 hour, psychologically in our hearts and minds. And I find this teaching of the six realms as a very significant, very important teaching, especially for the world that we live in today. For example, we might feel very euphoric and we are like in heaven. But then when we get angry, we fall into the fighting demon realm, whether we're fighting with traffic on the freeway or fighting with someone at work or with someone in our own family. When we follow our just basic instincts and we don't have a sense of reason or decency, we become an animal. When we are greedy and we're never satisfied, we always want more, then we have fallen into the realm of the hungry ghost. This could be in any situation: greed for money, greed for power. I think when we fall into the drug world, this is really a clear example of being in the realm of the hungry ghost, always wanting your next drug fix. And when we fall into intense pain and suffering, whether it be physical, mental, or emotional, we are in hell. We are in a hellish state. One of our members at the Orange County Buddhist Church is an atomic bomb survivor from Hiroshima. And once in a conversation with him, he said, "You know, Sensei, I don't really believe in a hell and an afterlife because I saw hell with my own two eyes that day in Hiroshima." He said, "There can be nothing worse than the hellish realm that I saw that day in Hiroshima." So to fall into a state of intense pain, suffering, anguish, that is hell. So we're left with the human realm. And I find this human realm the most difficult to explain, because we have to ask ourselves then, well, what does it mean to be a human being? But what does it mean to be and live as a human being? I translated some years ago a book from the Japanese written by Hideo Yonezawa, who was a very popular lay Shin Buddhist in Japan. And in his book, he wrote that the path of Shin Buddhism is the path to becoming human. To becoming human. You know what? When I read that, I thought, well, I'm a human being. But Yonezawa Sensei was saying, trying to point out that, are we really a human being? What does it mean to live as a human being? So, in terms of the six realms, we might consider ourselves human beings, but how much of the day am I living in that realm as a human being? Maybe very little, maybe hardly at all. Maybe I'm always in one of the other realms. And so through the Dharma, through the Nembutsu, we can discover our true sense, our deepest sense of humanity. That's what the teachings enable us to discover. We become a true human being, or we become truly human. This is something I learned from Yonezawa Sensei, that his words have stuck with me over the years, and now they ring even truer as we see so much unrest and chaos in the world around us. And so all the more it is important for us to listen to the teachings, to listen to the Dharma, to find, to discover, and then not lose our sense of humanity. So I hope that we can all become even more committed to the teachings as this world around us becomes more chaotic and more disturbing. All the more we dedicate ourselves to listening, to focusing on the Buddha Dharma. And may we be the ones to find and not lose our true sense of humanity. When we discover our true sense of humanity, then that begins to grow throughout the world. Thank you for listening to my message today. Namandavats, 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 namandavats. Thank you very much.